Hello, Gary Simon of DesignCourse.com. Today is the second and final part of our 3D software box design in Photoshop and Blender. And so we'll be working exclusively, almost until the end, in Photoshop for this, and we'll be designing the actual appearance of the design box. All right, so if you haven't yet, check out DesignCourse.com and subscribe here on YouTube. All right, let's get started. All right, so now open up Photoshop and also open up the UV layout that we created in the previous lesson. And this is what we're presented with. So I'm going to hit Control Shift and N, or Command Shift and N on a Mac. And we're going to name this new layer a background. We'll drag it beneath that layer 0. We can just rename that as well to UV. And we'll give the fill a white color for the background. Now, whatever the base color of your product box is going to be, it may not always be white like this. That's what the color you would definitely want to fill it in with. So the way this works, of course, is any of the UV areas, anything inside it, that's what's going to be shown on that particular face or that side of the box. All right, so also, when it comes to whether this is the front or this is back, it doesn't really matter because we can always just rotate the 3D software box in Blender. All right, so one problem is I did not design this beforehand, so I have no clue what I'm going to design. Maybe I'll just experiment. Maybe I'll use some of the same techniques that I did with the product box for the Viz ID. So yeah, so let me go ahead and I'm going to create a rectangle, or select the rectangle tool rather, and I'm going to use a color. What color should our box be? I don't want to use blue. I've been using that. Maybe a greenish, like a lime greenish color. Come out somewhere around maybe here. Yeah, so I'm using 98D018 if you want to be exact. You can use whatever color you want. And once you've selected that, we're going to assume this is the front. So we'll left click and drag, and you can hold Alt if it does that to you. And maybe right around there. Okay, so you see, if I zoom up here, I extended it a little bit beyond the actual outline of that UV. And the reason being, you want to make sure it doesn't get cut off because you'll see a white, tiny 1 pixel line there if you're not careful. So for it to extend out a little bit, it's not a big deal. All right, so if we hide the UV layer, we can see the actual color because it does change. It makes it a little bit lighter. All right, so at this point, when it comes to designing your software box, this is where creativity and all that stuff comes in. And depending on what your software or your fictional software box is supposed to be representing, just try to come up with something that will really wow people and want them to buy it, whatever it is, whether it be some type of digital product or if it's an actual CD or DVD. So I'm going to use the form icon that I made, I think, for this. All right, so probably a bunch of lessons or days ago, I created a video tutorial on designing a chat icon for DesignCourse.com forums. So I'm going to open that up, and I'll also make this available in the project files if you want to follow along. All right, and here it is. And when I open up this AI file, you get a dialog that asks you, how you want to import it. One of the things, you want to leave it at 300 DPI. That way you make sure it's big enough for this big document over here. So if you hit Control A, Control C, and you take this rectangle 1 layer, Control Shift N for a new layer, hit Tab so that it's kind of selects this area, and then space. That'll give you a real quick way of making any future layers a clipping mask without literally have to come over here and clicking it. I know I'm lazy, but it makes things go faster. So hit OK, and then, you know what? I don't think that worked. Yeah, there we go. Control A and Control C. I didn't see the little marching ants when I did that initially. So now we can paste that in. Control T to move, Shift and Alt, and left click and drag down. So we'll get this sucker right around, I'd say right here. Select the move tool, hit apply. All right, so I'm gonna change the color of this. I wanna make it white, I think. So if I'm gonna zoom up here a little bit too. So if I double click on this, the right side of the layer, we'll get the layer styles, color overlay, select that, change the color to white. Bam. So we got a little cool flat sort of form icon there. And let me think about what else I might want to do just to make it a little bit more interesting than that. So maybe we can add some type here. I'll type in forums. I'm really original. Control T, shift and scale that thing up. Let me think here. I'm going to use a font called Trade Gothic. I really like that font. It's not free, unfortunately, so you can use whatever fonts you want, but I do like it. We'll put that right there. Now I need to think of something that can go as a cool background element for this. Alright, so I've kind of paused and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to use. So I'm going to use DeviantArt in the resources and stock images sections, and I just typed in pretty girl or something, and I came across this image and I thought it could be interesting. It's one of the first ones I saw. But you can use these images as long as you respect what the author has required. So I will link to this gallery on the YouTube video. So I'm going to hit download. It's a large download. And it will bring up a new window and everything you see is white. There it goes. Right click, copy image. You can do that in Chrome or Firefox, I believe. And get out of there. Minimize that. Create a new layer underneath this. Control Shift N. It will automatically have this checked off as a clipping mask if there's a clipping mask above it, whatever you have selected. Hit OK. And then Control V to paste in. Control T to, because this is massive, to get the transform tools, Shift and Alt, left click and drag that thing down. Yeah, maybe right there is good. All right, and let's go ahead and image adjustments and desaturate it. And then we can play with layer blend modes by clicking over here, and then you can just do it one by one like this, or you can just click this again. You can see there's a tiny blue outline. It lets you use your down arrow key on your keyboard to experiment with what this will look like. So hit down, and we have all these different options, or these looks really, which are pretty interesting. Kind of like this one, because when it comes to good design, again, you don't want something to stick out so much. That's soft light, by the way. Like if you want to use that, that's actually not too bad. But you don't want it to take away too much from the primary elements right here, the type and the icon. So soft light, where were you? It's pretty good. I like that. It doesn't stick out too much. All right, and now we can worry about the portion beneath this. All right, so you know what? I may double click on this and make this slightly darker. That way, these the contrast is good for our forms text and the icon. Okay. All right, so now what we want to do is get the UV back out the layer, and we're going to duplicate this layer. Now, if you duplicate a layer when they have clipping masks, watch what happens. And I have a shortcut set for this. You can right click and hit duplicate layer. My hotkey is Control Shift and D. Hit OK. What happens is the image, they're no longer clipping masks. So if I undo that, just take all three, duplicate those, get rid of those layers, and this one can come at the bottom, and we'll make it black. Move it down. Right there is good. All right, we'll get rid of the UV layer right there. And now we can do something over here. And let me double click it. Come over here to the patterns, overlay section. And I might want to do something with this honeycomb thing. If you want to use a pattern like I did, you just go to Google, type in Photoshop honeycomb patterns or something like that, and you'll find some free ones that you can import into Photoshop and use. You don't have to use one though. Opacity, we'll take that and come down a little bit, or quite a bit actually, at 22%. Hit OK. And I don't know what I'm going to type here, honestly. Also, when you select a shape layer and it has an outline, and you see that the cursor icon is kind of changed, all you have to do is hit Control H, and that way, once you click here, it won't create an issue. So I'm going to click somewhere right around there, center the text, and I'm just going to put a quote. The hottest forum, no, design forum out there. So cheesy. All right, and then Control T will scale this up, and actually I may hit enter like that. Right around there. And I'm going to get the character panel out here. Go to window character if you don't see it. I'm going to hit auto. That way it brings everything together a little bit more. And just for the hell of it, I'll take the chat symbol. I'll duplicate that. So Control Shift D, or right click and duplicate that layer. Control T, hold Shift, scale that sucker down. And we'll just drag it over here to the right. Select the move tool, hit apply, and then move this up above that layer. All right. Cool. So that serves as the front of our package design, all right, or our software box. So let's get the UV layout back up. And this is going to be the back of it. So what we can do is just take everything. I'm going to hit group, call this front. So hit Control G, that will group it up. And then we'll duplicate that, move it over, and this time, let's go ahead and change things up maybe real quickly. Call this back real quick. And let's get rid of the UV thing around there. I'm going to go ahead and we'll temporarily hide that. I'm going to get rid of the forums text. I'm going to get rid of that text as well. If you hit Control, left click, it'll automatically select the layer. I'm going to get rid of... I'm thinking, do I want to extend this all the way up or extend this down? We can make it all black, I suppose. So I'm going to get rid of her and that one. Take this, hit Control T, move it up here. Select apply. Get out our icon and maybe make it like that, a watermark. And then normally what you would do is just put in a ton of text like your requirements or pictures or whatever for a back. I'm not going to mess around with that just because we're already at like 13 minutes. You get the idea at this point. So we'll go to UV again. We'll get that layer back up there. And this is the right and left side. So what I want to do is take front, duplicate that layer, or right click and hit duplicate, or that group rather. Move it over here. We'll call this side. I don't know which one's left or right. I don't think it really matters. So what we'll do is move this over right there. And I think we can, let's see here. Obviously we have to make some adjustments. I'm going to bring that out. We will find, okay, that layer. Control T, drag that in, hit apply. And then also the black layer, which is right there. Control T, drag that in, hit apply. And then we'll take our forums text. Wait, what's going on here? Oh, yeah. If you don't want to select the UV layer, just put a lock on it. There you go. Take this, and we will Control T, scale that down, holding Shift. Do the same thing with this one. We'll Control T, Maybe we'll move her over. I don't know, like that, whatever. And then I'll delete that text. All right, and then we'll duplicate this. Control-Shift-D. I've set up a hotkey for that, or right-click or duplicate. And just for the hell of it, we'll quickly go ahead and make some adjustments like that, and move this stuff down. And this, maybe we can Control T and rotate that thing around holding Shift. Just for some different looks, I guess you could say. Cool. And then we'll have the top and bottom to worry about. You know what? I'm just going to leave these white. Just because, you know what, we got the idea already. So if this was a serious project, you would want to go ahead and fill it all in with any necessary information. So we're already at almost 16 minutes. So what I want to do is save this. Don't save it as the UV layout PNG. You would really want to save this as a PSD file. So I've paused and went ahead and saved that as box-design.psd. Now what we have to do is save this for use within Blender. So if you hide the UV layer, and you definitely want to hide that, otherwise that will be baked into the image, to hide that. So now what we want to do is save this, and you save it as a PNG. You just go to File, Save for Web, Control-Shift-Alt-S, and you can save it as like a high JPG file, and hit Save, and let me go to Recent Places right there, and we can save it as Box Design. Hit Save, bam. All right, so with any luck, we'll switch back here to Blender, and I'm gonna go ahead and right-click this area and hit Join Area, like that. And I'm gonna switch this to Object Mode, and yeah, there we go. And I'm going to switch to Rendered real quick, make sure this is selected, and we'll go ahead real quick and switch back to, or click on the material section, use nodes, make sure you're on cycle render, and we want to change this view to the node editor. You know what? I'm going to real quick join that area. I should have left that other one up. Sorry about that. I'm going to switch this one to the node editor. It's much more easier to see the nodes when you're dealing with them stacked, those views. So we'll change this one again to rendered. All right, so the node editor, if you've never used it, it looks alien, it's scary, no big deal though. Over here, if we change this to a mix shader, you see it reflects that change right here. And we'll have two different shaders here. We can, actually, you know what? We can just do a regular diffuse. So I'm gonna undo that. Diffuse, there we go. Hit Control Z a few times, because this will work as diffuse, just right out of the box. So Shift A over here, and then put texture and image texture. Connect the color to the color of those two nodes. It goes pink because there's no image selected yet. So if you hit Open Image, which I've done, and you click on UV dash, actually, you know what? That's not the right one. Here's all my videos. Isn't that nuts? This is all from 2014, each one of these videos. Consecutive every day. I can't believe I've done this much. Anyhow, this is the right one where I've saved, so it's box-design.jpg. And oh my God, look at that. All right, let's go ahead and right-click, join area, so we can see this sucker a little bit closer. And so as you can see, it would look even cooler and more realistic if you probably positioned her a little bit better on these sides. The back, of course, adding text and stuff. Adding text over here, maybe like requirements or something. Obviously, the details would make it look really cool, but still, this looks cool in and of itself. You can always do other cool things like, I think we currently have it selected and we're in object mode. If you hit Shift and D, you can duplicate it. If you hit X, you can make it move back further or in front. Shift D again, and we'll hit Y. So it looks like you have like a big stack of them or something like that. So yeah, you could really play around with it. It's fun messing around with this. So let's say, for example, you wanted to render this. Hit the 0 on your number pad, and this is the camera view. If you hit N, as in nose, that'll bring this area up. Scroll down just to where it says lock camera to view, hit N again, and then you can rotate your view based on what you want the camera to see. If you right click on the plane, and when you're in rendered mode, as we are, it won't show you an outline if you have it selected, but it is selected if you right clicked it over there. Hit new. You can also adjust the color of this area if you want it to be like all white. That way it doesn't show like that cut in the background. That'll work. All right, and come over here, maybe right around there. Leave it right around there. Yeah, that looks good. I think we'll be done right around there. You know what? Just because I want to take this. I'm going to get out of camera mode, so you just hit 0. I'm going to zoom up here. I want to take this, hit R and Y, and move this down so like it's sitting on the ground. All right, right around there. Maybe move it back a tad bit. I don't know, just to show some different angles of this thing so they're all standing up. Rendered. Yeah, that looks fine. Okay, cool. So that's what our rendered view will look like. So if you hit 0 again on your number pad, this is what will render. So again, we came out here and we specified 1280 by 720. We have 700 for the render. One other thing, if you do have a GPU and you're using GPU compute, you can go to performance, change the tiles from 64 to 256 by 256, hit enter, and that is it. So all you have to do, oops, damn it. Now all you have to do is come up here, hit render, and it's going to start rendering this thing out. So we're using, again, 750, I think. So I'm going to pause until this is done. And that only took about 40 seconds or so, and this is it. And it's obviously bigger than that. This is the full image. This is like 100% right here. But yeah, if you want to save that, just hit F3 on your keyboard and save the image. That is it. Obviously a lot better than dealing with like, Photoshop and trying to create these fake 3D boxes. That way you have so much more control and you can do cool different renders based on the scene and all that stuff. So yeah, and even you can learn a little bit of basic Blender animation and really make it look cool for like a promo video and have them animate and stuff. Anyhow, that is it. So if you like this tutorial and you like design tutorials in general, I'm doing one every day of 2014. I've stuck with it so far, and it's April 22nd. So yeah, I've been pumping these out like a crack addict. Anyhow, yeah, subscribe here on YouTube and check out designcourse.com. All right, I will see you tomorrow.